So you're running out of closet space. The good news? You don't need to stop shopping. You just need to start selling with The RealReal. The RealReal is the world's largest and most trusted resource for authenticated luxury resale. Whether it's that mini bag that can't even fit your phone, or those boots you never fully broke in, The RealReal handles everything from photography and copywriting to shipping and pricing. So you can just sit back, get paid, and make room for things that actually feel like you. And with 10,000 plus new arrivals every single day from top designers like Prada, Celine, Louis Vuitton, and Loewe, all for up to 90% off retail, you're bound to find something perfectly on brand to fill that extra closet space with. Plus, right now, you can get an extra $100 to shop when you sell for the first time. Make room for what feels like you. Go to therealreal.com to start selling and get your extra $100 to keep shopping at therealreal.com. That's therealreal.com. Terms apply.
Emotionally unavailable.
Welcome back to Emotionally Unavailable. I'm the host, Malisa Hepner. If you're new here, when I do solo episodes, this is what it's about. So first, I'm going to tell you that I started this show April 29th of 2024 at the tail end of a very serious mental health crisis. I was in profound darkness and just looking for any way to get out of that darkness. I left a job that was toxic and miserable and was killing me on the inside out, and began an entrepreneurship journey, basically, where I started a private practice for therapy, essentially, like over the summer after I quit. And the show started as a way for me to talk about emotional availability and what it meant. And I was, trying to become more vulnerable because I had learned that I was emotionally unavailable. And then, it's transformed into all kinds of healing for myself from the guests, basically, that I've had on this show, teaching me so much. And during the mental health crisis, I had a spiritual awakening. So I've had a lot of spiritual guests on here too, and just tons of people that have opened me up to completely different paradigm. So I put in a lot of work into healing from April 2024 to December 2025. And that is when I lost my son, Jake, who was 18, almost 19, to a synthetic opioid overdose. He purchased a pill that he thought was Oxycontin, and it actually had a drug in it called cyclorphine, and it killed him immediately. So these solos have been kind of life updates, grief, me trying desperately to have a way to get some of this out, but also to support others going through any sort of a grief process. So, if you're new, that's what we're doing here. So, I was in such a good mood and actually like super excited to record a solo episode just to talk about like good shit that's been happening, or even just kind of what I did this week, or specifically this weekend. I've had kind of a busier weekend of fun stuff, not just like graduations. Not that I don't love the people I went to the graduations for, but you know what I'm saying. So I've had a busy weekend, and I was going to just talk about that and maybe some of the like, just like shit that happened that I couldn't even believe, but like I persevered, whatever. And then because my computer and everything wasn't set up, I had to like switch the internets and do different stuff. It gave me a second to pause, and this critical inner voice just kept telling me like, nobody cares. And I've had this happen before, but it got loud enough to where I was like, gosh, maybe I shouldn't record a solo episode. And so to me, it led me to the actual content that I'm going to share today, because it got like, I was like considering it to that level that I was like, man, let me think about why this is coming up and just talk about it. So essentially, I think some people's brand in a space like this is, I experienced all of this and now I'm on the other side of it, and I highlight the ways in which I have enriched my life in spite of all of this trauma, tragedy, shit, stuff, whatever. And I'm using the word brand in quotes because you know what I'm saying. Like, we each have our little area of the market in when you're putting yourself out there like this, right? A niche or whatever. I think truly my brand in my mind has been I'm going through stuff and I want to talk about it in real time. At least that's where it's evolved to. I don't think that's where it started because I didn't I didn't understand so many things then, but it certainly evolved into that, into me saying, hey, this is real life shit. This is how I'm overcoming it. Specifically, my goodness, like starting an entrepreneurship journey has brought so much heartache and heartbreak and stress and pain. A lot of good things too, a lot of good things, but um really had to work on what is my worth without an income, really. What value do I have to my family, to myself, things like that. So I definitely was going through things in real time to share about and how I was transmuting those things and alchemizing those things. And I just felt really solid in that. And even when the grief journey started, oh my God, I learned so much about myself so quickly, just trying to stay steady and stable, having to confront and evaluate everything that came up because I knew it came up from a story that was written a long time ago, not always even by me. So I have felt perfectly content to get on here and cry to the internet about when things are hard. But just coming to talk about something silly or lighthearted stopped me in my tracks. So some of the things that I asked myself is like, when did I first learn that my pain got people's attention? When did I first learn that my competence got people's attention? What parts of me received love growing up? What parts of me were ignored? If I had an ordinary, peaceful week, would I still believe I had something worth saying? Do I feel more valuable when I'm surviving something? Do I trust people to stay connected to me when I'm not teaching, helping, inspiring? So, yeah, again, I think that's what made me think, oh, okay, yeah, because some people, like I know people who are in the like motivational speaking space, their their talk really is, I went through this, here's the result. I overcame. And I'm really in, even before the grief journey, I was really in the middle of overcoming. I felt like healing was, I wasn't calling myself on a healing journey anymore. Because I got to a place where I'm like, oh, there's no healed. There's no like hitting the end of the road and being like healed. And I just needed to like learn to embrace who I was right then. And yes, I'm going to continue to grow and evolve, and I'm deeply committed to that process. But I'm okay with whoever I am in any given moment. And I just recognize that now life is just really about being able to be aware when stuff is coming up and confronting that as it happens. Where I think healing really is about learning to become aware, being aware of all the things that made you who you are and why you've responded to life in the way that you have. And I just don't feel necessarily like, maybe I'm wrong, because like this is actually a perfect example that stuff still comes up and I have to be like, whoa. But again, I know the questions to ask now instead of feeling so lost. Like the only thing I could be like before is like, why? Why am I miserable? Why am I mean? Why am I so reactive? And just feeling the shame of all of my actions. And so I'm not in that place. I was questioning, like, is this shame earlier whenever I was pausing before recording? And I don't know, but, I think my grief really ties into this a little bit because yesterday was the 6 month mark. Well, the 13th. So whenever this airs, it'll be the 15th. But, because it does not feel at all different to me than month one, that's complicated for me. That's complicated, and I'm going to be really honest about why. Because I know what societal expectation is around sharing this stuff, and being really open and raw and honest about your grief. They give you 2 months. We're 4 months past that. So I know there are lots of people tired of me talking about it. I can live with that. That's fine. But the 6-month mark has created a little internal panic for me for a couple of reasons. One, the biggest, is because I'm like, it triggers this thing. It's so hard to explain, but it's like, oh my God. And then we still have this many years left without him. So there's that. But it's also like, because, hey guys, it's me. Emotionally Unavailable is produced 100% in-house by me with no team. So if this show has ever helped you and you want to give back, subscribe to the Patreon. There's several different levels with different benefits in each. Check the show notes and you can see what each tier subscription will get you. There's also lots of fun things coming down the pipeline for the Patreon subscribers. So get in early. You can get a workbook, you can buy merch, you can do any of the things, and all of that supports the show to help it keep going. Really appreciate every single one of you. I love you so much, and I can't wait to see what we continue to do together. I don't feel any different than I did at month 1. I have this deep-seated fear, I think, of losing what support I do have slowly but surely, because I'm like, okay, we're going to hit the year mark. We're going to hit the 2-year mark. Who's going to be left for that? And so it does bring up some fear of loss there. I think so much of that is related to the PTSD that I had before this, but then specifically after, because the PTSD is very real. I don't even think it's just because we're the ones who found him. I think like it just compounded my already there fear of loss. So I think hitting the 6-month mark symbolizes something for me that is negative, and I think that it is very much tied to fearing the loss of support, love from other people. So there's that. But I also, yeah, like, why am I convinced that I'm only worthy or valuable in this space if I am going through something in the moment, or can only speak about overcoming something? Why is that the case? And I think that other question that I asked was like, what parts of me received love growing up? And when did I first learn that my competence got people's attention? Those two things were intertwined for me in childhood. So I remember, my grandma had 5 kids. An uncle was the oldest, and then 4 girls. My mom was the youngest. And I had an aunt. She was all of my aunts on my maternal side were pretty toxic, because they were raised by my very toxic grandma. And just because you were a family did not at all mean you were just like accepted into their love or their energy at all. And they had very cruel ways of exiling you if you weren't their favorite. So, I had very cruel experiences with them. And, um, this aunt that I'm thinking about, and finally being able to gain her approval. When I was, first of all, she didn't really like little girls. She preferred little boys. And I think that says a lot about her. And I think that it, I really don't know why. I think maybe it was the girly stuff that we like to do. She liked my tomboy cousin, the one closest to me in age. And I never thought, oh, who cares if they don't like you? I very much cared and worked my entire childhood to gain these people's approval. Even my uncle, but like, specifically the women in my family. And so this aunt, when I was little, she made fun of me a lot, teased. She would jump in on the teasing game a lot at family functions. And she, one time, I might have told this story a long time ago, but my little brother and I, well, we were all three staying with her when my grandma went to Virginia to see her mom. And she had like a 3-year-old son, my cousin, and she had one of those little electric fences for her dog. And we were all out there touching the fence, like holding hands, letting the current go through us, causing each other to electrocute ourselves, all kinds of stuff. Because what else are we gonna do, right? You're not allowed to play in the house. So anyway, we were bored. We were doing stuff. So, and he and I were not accepted by her or the cousins of this group. The baby was fine, but because we also took my uncle's son with us on this trip. So he and my aunt's son were the same age. We all have a cousin the same age. So they had accepted our older brother into the little fold, but me and Josh, we were not accepted into the fold at all. We were considered crybabies, annoying, whatever. So he and I were outside playing. Her son came. We're forcing each other to touch the electricity, and he's like, "Oh, I do it," and we're like, "No, that's not how you do it." And I wish to God we hadn't, but we told him how to do it, and we shouldn't have. He cries. He goes and basically she's under the impression we made him do it. I can see why, but her reaction to this was not appropriate. So she's out there like holding my younger brother onto it and all kinds. I just remember it being very chaotic and very scary and just so unsafe. You just felt her hatred. It was palpable. It was visceral. It was awful. And so anyway, things like that happened. Like we didn't see her a whole lot because she lived in Kansas and we lived in Oklahoma, but we'd see her about 3 times a year. And when she came to the house, she made it clear that we were on her nerves and we were to steer clear of her. Like this, like we lived with our grandma, so that's who she's visiting. So she's in our home. But she couldn't fucking stand the sight of us. And some of it really was because she hated our mother. There was just like a lot of shit between them. But anyway, my point is I was desperate for her approval. My aunt, who was the one right above my mom, she was pretty awful at times, but more in like to me personally, I've seen worse to others, but to me personally, it was more like talking shit about you, but not necessarily mean to your face. Because she did that even if you were accepted into her energy, she was still gonna talk bad shit about you. And she did. And so that hurt, but like I got used to that. So my aunt, I remember as I was coming into teenagehood and early adulthood, but specifically in adolescence, late adolescence, I had opinions on things and I was abreast of the news in the world and, um, becoming educated in a way that most of my family wasn't because most of them didn't, graduate from high school. But I remember her being impressed by me and the fact that I was aware and had smart in quotes, opinions about things that she approved of. And for the first time ever, I was gaining her approval. And it was like a drug. And I think those experiences of earning my aunt's love from each of them and their approval and validation, that's when it really started. Like, my competence is a thing that earns me love and approval and acceptance into my own family. So I know that even in college, that was something I took very seriously. Trying to earn the approval of the professors was serious, which a byproduct of that was most of my classmates really had a good respect for me, which meant a lot to me. And I did not feel valuable outside of that. And I think that's why when I graduated finally with my master's and was suffering with postpartum depression, I just lost my shit because, I mean, granted, for the astrology girls, I was going through my Saturn return after that. Like after I had Jake, I went through my Saturn return. And so Obviously, I got a divorce, as one does during their Saturn return. So, anyway, in hindsight, I mean, then I could tell you story after story of me gaining their approval, but in hindsight, that is where it started. And so much of the reasons that some of my jobs really failed or made me feel suicidal was because I couldn't validate myself at all. And I've talked about that a lot on here, but that's why, because I had been conditioned to believe that I needed to be competent, be the best at things, over accomplish. And the accomplishments didn't have to be like, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor. In fact, when you're in a toxic system, too much accomplishment also isn't good. So I had to battle that as well because, I always thought I was better than them, according to them. Anyway, so yeah, I think, yeah, it's hard for me to believe that people are invested in hearing what I have to say if it's not profound. So, anyway, maybe there's truth to that. I don't know, but this is just something I'm pondering. It really, 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 really made me think that that is something that I need to continue to kind of uncover. So there's that. So now I'm going to tell you what I was just going to tell you. I don't want to because of the critical inner voice. And now I've told you all of my inner thoughts about it. So now I feel even more vulnerable. But okay, so I went to Tulsa, which is an hour and a half away from where I live, because Aaron Foster, if anyone's listened for that long, he was on this show over a year ago. He is a comedian who has a comedy show about his mental health and the mental health of his family. And it is so good. It is so good. And I had promised if you're ever in Oklahoma or anywhere near, I'm going to come see you. And I'm so glad I made that promise because I was bound and determined to follow through on that promise. I did not want to by the time it came because it was like, oh my God, I have so many things to like move around to be able to do this. But yeah, I did it. So I went by myself and I let's see. I was rushing to leave and I missed the gas station that's off of the turnpike. So I got close to running out of gas when I did stop. You know that little silver thing that's on the gas pump that you can push down and it'll keep pumping the gas for you? It smashed my finger. You can still kind of see the bruise and the indentation. It smashed my finger so bad I thought it was broken. I was panicking at the pump and I couldn't get it off. Oh my God, it was awful. So I did that and then but I was still like, okay, things are good. It's fine. And I'm gonna tell you, used to, I would have every one of these things would have made me think, I need to turn back around. I need to go home. I shouldn't be doing this. But I said, nevertheless, we persist. I got to the hotel, had a little trouble finding how to get into the hotel, but then that was fine. And then I went to Walmart and bought some things that I'd forgotten to pack, like a brush. And then I went to the show. The show was in this really cool place. It was a old house, a corner house that had been converted into this cool little uh, stage area. They do jazz there. They do all kinds of things. Shout out the Belafonte in Tulsa. But I went by myself, and I could have really felt stupid about that, but I chose not to. So, yeah, that turned out really fun, and I'm so glad I went, and it was such a good show. And I asked Aaron to come back on because I just want to talk with him. I want you guys to hear, some of my new listeners didn't hear the first episode. So yeah, I want to talk with him and I want to talk to him about how I felt about his show and stuff. So not to give too much away, and then I got my Jakey tattoo yesterday, and that went really well. And I'm speeding through all the things. I can't even remember everything I was going to update you on now. But, well, because some of what I was going to say was around the 6-month thing anyway, because it's more a struggle with conceptualizing the 6-month mark than anything. But yeah, so I love my new tattoo and I've posted it on social media so you could see it there. But, because it's really hard to get the angle. Is it there? Did I show it? I don't know. Anyway, because I always put my screen down on my laptop when I'm doing solos so that I can't, like, see what I'm doing because inevitably I'm gonna be looking down and, overthinking shit, so I just sit here talking to my camera, but it makes me feel better than looking at the screen, so I don't know if you could see that, but anyway, yeah, and then now, when I'm done here, I have ordered Charlie, got a Lego set for her birthday, and because she had said that's what she wanted to do with her friend that night, and she actually did it, and I was so proud of her, and so Bryson and I were kinda like, "I kinda wanna do a Lego set," and so I was like, "You know what? That'd be a great activity for today," so I'm gonna order that, and I'm really excited, and yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave it at that, because I record with Angie Mondays after, I end up repeating so much of the same stuff on that show that I talk about on this show. But hey, listen, Unquiet Soul, you're missing out if you're not listening. I love that show because it's two friends who are just sharing our lives together with some meaning there, but familiarity and love and just different stuff, and so I really recommend you listening to that show. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please go to whatever platform you're listening to and like, rate, and comment because I am pushing so hard to get to the top 3%. I'm in the top 5% right now. But like, there's literally nothing I personally can do. It has to be my audience. So if you wouldn't mind going and liking, subscribing, like follow, like I know on Spotify, it's you follow, you can comment on Spotify. So please do and leave a review. And then on Apple, you rate and review all together. I think you can comment on there too, but doing that pushes me out to a wider audience, like, it'll start suggesting me in people's feeds, but then also that's the metrics that they use, and I know that some of you are doing it because my listen score went up, so I know I'm getting closer to that top 3%, and top 5% is already kinda crazy, but, we have to have goals, so anyway, I appreciate you, I love you, if you want, a closer access to me, join the Patreon, it's super cheap, and there's an ever-growing library of products there, and, I love you. I just appreciate you all so much. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, and I'll see you later. Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.
Emotionally unavailable.
All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming.
INDEPE and cut.
You can never have too many tools. Shop DeWalt deals at Lowe's. Get a free Select DeWalt 20-volt max power tool when you buy a Select 20-volt max 5-amp-hour battery kit. Plus, get a free additional DeWalt 20-volt max 8-amp-hour battery when you buy a DeWalt 10-inch 20-volt max dual-bevel compounded miter saw. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 6/24 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.